As we bless the source of light, so we are blessed. As we bless the source of life, so we are blessed. And the blessing gives us strength and makes our visions clear. And the blessing gives us peace and the courage to dare. As we bless the source of life, so we are blessed. As we bless the source of light, so we are blessed.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I'm Rabbi Barry Silver. On behalf of Congregation L'Dor Va-Dor, it's my great pleasure to welcome you to our celebration of Shabbat, also known as our happy hour. You know, my father, Rabbi Sam Silver, used to say, to be a Jew is to be jubilant. And the most jubilant day of all is Shabbat, where we are instructed and urged to be happy and to rejoice in the gifts of creation and the celebration of freedom. Many people think that because Shabbat comes on a Saturday, that should be a Saturday. No, no, no. Shabbat should be a joyous day. Many people focus on all the things you can't do on Shabbat. You can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do that. In progressive, modern, cosmic Judaism, we think of all the things you can do. And we rejoice in being able to spend time with our family, spending time with our heritage, spending time giving thanks, spending time engaged in recreational activities, celebrating life, and doing something which psychologists call mindfulness. Yes, mindfulness means focusing our mind where we choose to focus. We choose to focus on joy and kindness and love and all the blessings of life. Mindfulness. Share with me, join with me today. And also join with me and join with Hannah Klingsberg and Robert Wolf, who will lead us in the candle lighting. Let us join also with Valerie and Mishka Jet, who will lead us in the Kiddush. We are going to celebrate mindfulness, joy, and love on this Shabbat. And now, let the celebration of Shabbat begin.
The nation erupted into
Tonight,
scenes of
troubling new
chaos.
data from the World Health Organization.
100 countries are now reporting cases.
Hello, everybody. We're so happy to be with you on this Shabbat. These lights are only flickering flames, yet flames illumine our uncertain steps. Flames purify and renew, soften and refine. They brighten and make warm. Flames remind us of Sabbaths long past and of their beauty that delighted our hearts. May they inspire us to work for the great Sabbath of peace. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvoto v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Robert and I look forward to being with all of you to celebrate Shabbat with you as a family. Until we meet again, Shabbat Shalom.
Be well, everybody, till we meet again.
Be safe.
Good evening, everyone. Shabbat Shalom. Almost all Jewish ceremonies and celebrations involve wine, and Shabbat is no exception. Ritual doesn't exist for the sake of itself. It exists to accomplish something.
We could imagine that our sages simply decided to sweeten celebrations from births to weddings with wine. However, wine itself serves as a switch. It sets the time apart and makes it special, holy, and unique. It's not about the wine itself. It's about what the wine has the power to do when we raise our glass with intention. That's the magic of the Kiddush. From the Hebrew word of holy, our ability to demarcate time, to say that this Friday night, this exact moment, which has never occurred before and never will again, is special. This is the beauty of the Kiddush. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei bari hagofen. Amen. We give thanks for being healthy, for our friends at L'Dor Va-Dor, and for living in the greatest country in the world, America. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Running with the theme of mindfulness, prayers were our ancestors' opportunity to focus their mind on all the blessings around them and to rejoice and to give thanks. And so we're now going to enter into a few moments of prayers with the Baruch Hu and the V'ahavta and many of the other traditional prayers, I hope, which will be understood perhaps in some non-traditional ways, now that we have access to understand through science all the miracles that are going on around us, which was intuitively felt by our ancestors. Let us join and link with them and be mindful of the blessings of joys that surround us. If you don't know Hebrew, don't worry. Each blessing is just a thank you. It's just a reminder that we should have an attitude of gratitude for all of the miracles that we perceive throughout the universe and within our own bodies and within all living things. And now let us celebrate Shabbat with these traditional prayers.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשכבך ובקומך. וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נור תהילות עושה פלא, נור תהילות עושה פלא, מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ים לפני משה, זה לינו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך, אדוני ימלוך, לעולם ועד.
ברוך אתה אדוני, אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו, אלוהי אברהם, אלוהי יצחק ואלוהי יעקב, אלוהי שרה, אלוהי רבקה, אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה, האל הגדול הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. The theme of this Shabbat is mindfulness. This is a tool used by psychologists and therapists and self-help people throughout the world in order to improve the caliber of their lives by changing the way they think so that we think with a positive attitude and we can create happiness and see the world through new eyes. Silent meditation is the perfect opportunity to do that. We're going to spend a few moments in silence as a precursor to many moments of silence and contemplation and mindfulness throughout the week. I suggest perhaps through this period of silent meditation, we might think of an incredible miracle that is going to happen today. You see, we're going to take in oxygen through a series of chemical reactions with our mouth and our nose, and it's going to go right into our lungs. And then our diaphragm and our chest cavity is going to expand to take in more air, and then it's going to be compressed in order to squeeze that air out from our lungs into 100 trillion cells in our bodies to oxygenate all of the cells. All of this happens spontaneously without having to think about it at all. And this miracle will happen 20,000 times in a day, today and every day. Let us rejoice for this miracle, the blessing of life, and countless other miracles that happen every day. In our silent meditation, let us give thanks for all of these miracles. Let us give thanks for the ability to contemplate and to rejoice. And let us also give thanks for what my father called the greatest miracle of all, that we do not have to be the person today that we were yesterday, if only we were to fully utilize all the gifts that have been given to us. Let us focus and let us engage in silent meditation on all the gifts of life that we have to enjoy as our birthright.
מי שברך אבותינו, מי שברך אמותינו, הוא יברך את החולים. מי שברך אבותינו, מי שברך אמותינו, הוא יברך את החולים. וישלח להם מהרה רפואה, רפואה שלמה מן השמיים, רפואת הנפש ורפואת הגוף, ונאמר אמן. מי שברך אבותינו, מי שברך אמותינו, הוא יברך את החולים.
עושה שלום במרומה, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו, ועל כל ישראל אמרו, אמרו אמן. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו מעל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו מעל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו מעל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו מעל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו מעל כל ישראל.
Our Torah reading this Shabbat is from the book of Genesis, a sedra known as Todot. Baruchu et Adonai hamavarach, Baruch Adonai hamavarach leolam vahed, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah. Amen. 52 years ago, I read this very same passage at my bar mitzvah. A picture was taken there and was placed in my father's book of me reading from the Torah with my father holding the Torah as I was preparing for my bar mitzvah. This book is called Explaining Judaism to Jews and Christians. And on the page of that book, it talks about Reform Judaism. And my father asked the question, he does a give and take to explain his points of view. He says, tell me something about Reformed Judaism. Did I hear you say Reformed? Yes, is that wrong? We do not refer to it as Reformed, but as Reform. Why? Because Reformed implies that we have arrived at a certain place and are going to remain there. But Reform means reforming, that the process of change is continuing. The process of change, is that the characteristic of reform? There are many characteristics of reform. As for making changes, we have changed the attitude towards change. And what my father goes on to explain is that in Judaism, change has always been occurring, but it stopped a little while ago with the advent of the greatest reform of all, called orthodoxy, in which the entire evolution of Judaism was claimed by some to have come to an end, and now orthodoxy freezes Judaism at a certain point, and this is now authentic Judaism. What my father was trying to underscore is that Judaism is based on certain principles and ideals like love, on truth, on courage, on freedom, on the dignity of all people, and the ability to see the world as a unit. And these principles have always guided us, but we've always been changing and evolving as humans have learned more and more, and as Judaism grew. And so the process of reform is really what Judaism is all about. Congregation L'Dor Va-Dor began as a Reformed congregation, and now has continued to change into what I call cosmic Judaism, sometimes referred to as evolutionary Judaism, also referred to as inspirational Judaism, meaning that we derive inspiration from Judaism, but in a rational way. And that's what my father was talking about here, viewing things in a rational, mindful way. And now we're going to read from the Torah. V'yachparu avdei Yitzchak b'nachal, and the servants of Isaac dug in the valley. V'yimsu'u sham be'el mayim chayim, they found there a well of living waters. V'yachivu ho'e Gerar im ho'e Yitzchak, but the shepherds of Gerar quarreled over it with the shepherds of Isaac. Lemor, and they said, Lanu hamayim, this water belongs to us, even after Isaac had found it. V'yichashem ha'be'el Esek, and they named that well Esek, meaning strife. Ki hitasku imo, because they strove over it. V'yachparu be'el acheret, v'yahuivu gam aleha, they dug another well, and the shepherds of Gerar quarreled over this one too. V'yikra shema sitna, and they named that well Sitna, meaning enmity. V'yatek misham, and they left there. V'yachpor be'el acheret v'lo havu aleha, they dug another well, and this time they did not quarrel over it. V'yikra shema rechovot, v'yomer ki ata yarchiv Adonai lanu ufarinu v'aretz, they called it rechovot, meaning spacious, because he said, for now God has made space for us in this land, and we shall prosper here and be fruitful in this land. V'yal misham be'el Shava, they went from there to Beersheva. V'yach alav Adonai b'layla hahu, God seemed to appear to Isaac that night. V'yomer anochi Elohecha hamavicha, and he said, I am the God of Abraham, your father. Al tir'a ki itacha anochi uverachticha v'harbeti et zarecha, do not be afraid, for I shall bless you, and I shall multiply your descendants. Ba'avur v'hamavdi, for the sake of Abraham my servant. Vayiven sham yizbeach, and he dug and he constructed there an altar. Vayikra b'shem Adonai, and he called upon the name of God. Vayet sham ahalo, he pitched his tent there. V'yachu sham avdei Yitzchak be'er v'Avimelech halach elav, and they dug yet another well in that area, and Avimelech approached him. Migarar ba'achuzat merehu, Avimelech was the leader, the king of the people of Gerar, who quarreled with Isaac over the well, and also Achuzat, who was the leader of his armies. Uficho sal tzava'o, and Ficho, the commander of his army. Vayomer alehem Yitzchak, and Isaac said to them, Mabdua batem elai, why have you come to me? Va'atem senetem oti, after all, don't you really hate me? V'tishalchuni meitachem, you sent me away from you. Vayomhu ra'o ra'inu ki haya Adonai imach, but they said, no, we have now seen that God is truly with you. V'nomar tihina Allah benotenu, benenu ubenecha. And they said, let there be a covenant between us and between you. V'nichata barit imcha, im ta'aseh imanu ra'a ka'asher lo naganucha. And let us establish a treaty, a covenant, so that we will have an understanding between us, so that you will do us no harm, just as we have done you no harm. V'cha'asher asinu imcha rak tov. And just as we have only done good by you. V'nishalechacha b'shalom. Again, prevaricating and rewriting history says, and we sent you away in peace. Actually, Isaac is the one who left peacefully. They were the aggressors. Ata baruch Adonai. We now see that you are truly blessed by God. And here he uses the Jewish name for God, Yahweh. Vayas lahem yishteh v'yochlu v'yishtu. Isaac ignored all of these fabrications and all of this effort to rewrite history and fake news. Instead, he ignored it, and he prepared for them a banquet, and together they ate and they drank. The blessing after the Torah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu torat emet v'chayolam nata bitochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. There was once a man who went to the doctor. He said, "Doctor, I have amnesia. Can you help me?" The doctor said, "Pay first." Then he said, "But doctor, can't you help me with my amnesia?" He said, "How long have you had it?" He said, "Had what?" We've all known people who are very forgetful. But even worse than that are people who don't remember what they should be grateful for, who take everything for granted and never remember to say thank you or to express gratitude. The whole purpose of why we're here tonight on Shabbat is mindfulness, to remember and to reflect upon our good fortune, reflect upon our lives so that we can try to make them better. Let us never forget our gifts that we are blessed with that can make this world better for ourselves and for others. Let us never forget all the blessings that we have. That's why we're here. Isaac is a very good story to read in order to help us remember what is important about mindfulness. His very name means laughter. Yes, the Jewish people chose the name laughter for one of their patriarchs because that is something that Jews are known for. And it's good to use laughter in order to diffuse tension and anger. So many times my father used to take a situation that was very tense and tell a joke, and all of a sudden the tension broke. Isaac means laughter, and he was someone who was able to transcend things that would have broken other people. You know, the Jewish people, as my father used to always say, instead of adversity bringing out the beast in us, it brings out the best in us. What happened to Isaac? He was traumatized as a child. He was held and tied to an altar. His father raised a knife over him in order to slay him, but a ram was discovered. But he still went through that trauma. He could have been excused for having PTSD throughout his life, but he overcame it. It didn't seem to bother him. And then in this story, this wonderful story, which I read for my bar mitzvah, one of my favorites, these people from Gerar come along and they're aggressive towards Isaac and his shepherds. They had discovered water, which is vital in this part of the world. It's like discovering gold. It's a source of life. It's even more important than gold. And these people come along and just take it. And he just leaves without a word and just digs another well and another and another. Finally, they come to him and they say, "Isaac, we want to have a covenant with you. We can see that you are truly blessed. You have wonderful powers of discernment and the ability to discover life-giving water." Actually, these wells were dug by his father. What was his secret? He remembered He was mindful of his past. He remembered his father and his tradition and legacy, and he was able to find these same wells. It seemed like magic, but that's been the secret of the Jewish people all along. We remember the tradition of our fathers, and we honor that. And so he was able to do something remarkable. He took an enemy and defeated the enemy. How? By military might? No. By converting the enemy into a friend through respect and through restraint. When the enemy saw this great restraint of Isaac and his ability to find life-giving water, they came around and went from enemy to friend. That, my friends, is a lesson for us. There are always people in our lives who are going to have ill will towards us, or who have conflict with us, or groups of people, religions and nations. This passage is trying to tell us the best way to defeat an enemy is to make them your friend by showing them love, by not responding with hate, and also by using the gifts that we are given to make the best of our lives. Does that mean we should never defend ourselves? Absolutely not. In the case of Isaac, his life was not threatened, and so he was able to move on. However, clearly the Torah tells us if we're being threatened and our survival is at stake, as with Israel, Israel must defend itself. But when we don't have to fight, it's far better to convert the enemy by making them our friend. This is what being mindful is all about. This week, we commemorate with great sorrow the tragedy of Kristallnacht. Kristallnacht represents one of those times when we had to fight back, when we could not just say, oh, be our friend. The Nazis were not interested and were not convertible into friends. They were mean, vicious, cold-blooded killers. And the only way to respond was with force. Unfortunately, the world discovered that too late. Kristallnacht was a shot across the bow for the world community. Hitler wanted to find out what would happen if I committed the most outrageous, barbaric, violent atrocities against the Jewish people. Would anybody dare to speak up for the Jews? So he destroyed their synagogues, hauled people out in the street and beat them and killed them and looted them and sent them off into concentration camps, did the most unspeakable acts against the Jewish people. And what was the world response? Not even a whimper. Absolute dead silence. And so the lesson was made clear to Hitler in this test case. I can kill Jewish people and do anything I want to them, and nobody will care. And so on this observation of Kristallnacht, it should be crystal clear in our minds that if we do nothing, it'll lead to a very long night. That's why Elie Wiesel wrote the book Night, or in Yiddish, Nacht. Kristallnacht should crystallize in our minds this very long night that we will have if we don't respond to violence with force and by standing up for ourselves. The world community did nothing to support the Jewish people. This was made very clear by Rabbi Joachim Prinz of Berlin. While serving as the president of the American Jewish Congress, he was called upon to give a speech right before the famous I Have a Dream speech by Martin Luther King on August 28, 1963, in the March on Washington. And this is what he said on that occasion. When I was the rabbi of the Jewish community in Berlin, under the Hitler regime, I learned many things. The most important thing that I learned under those tragic circumstances was that bigotry and hatred are not the most urgent problem. The most urgent, the most disgraceful, the most shameful, and the most tragic problem is silence. A great people which had created a great civilization had become a nation of silent onlookers. They remain silent in the face of hate, in the face of brutality, and in the face of mass murder. If we don't learn that lesson from history, we will be doomed to repeat it. Now we have another shot across the bow with climate change. We see forests on fire. We see cataclysmic climatic change. We see oceans rising, erosion, and all types of famine and climate change. Will we learn the lesson from history and recognize that we should see these threats and take them seriously and mobilize the people of the world? Fortunately, President Biden is out trying to do that right now. He is speaking with countries throughout the world to try to make something happen. to try to bring about change. I hope that we will learn the lessons of history. But there's another lesson from history. Hitler, who inspired Kristallnacht, started out by unleashing his fury against the Jews, and nothing happened. Do we remember that Hitler tried to take over the government with a beer hall putsch? And what happened when he did that? Almost nothing. Yeah, he was thrown in jail, but then people forgot about it. My friends, we must never forget that dictators and tyrants and fascists all seem to operate by the playbook, the same playbook. Today, we have also seen in our country an effort like the beer hall putsch, an effort of a violent overthrow against the government of the United States on January 6th by someone who emulates the tactics and the mindset of Hitler in his early days. Now, don't go accusing me of comparing Trump to Hitler in the effect of what he did. Trump has done nothing even remotely like mass murder. I'm comparing what happened with Hitler before he became a mass murderer, before he was given license to kill, because we know from tyrants and fascists, if you don't stop them, if you don't hold them in check, eventually they will unleash their fury, and then mass murder can result from that. But if you look at what happened with Hitler before he became a mass murderer and what Trump has done, you will see striking similarities. Both attacked the press, both attacked their enemies with vile rhetoric, both used the big lie over and over again. Both said, I'm the only one who can solve the problems. Both had a cult of people who are sycophants, who hung on his every word. Both had these large rallies where they inspired people into a crazed frenzy. Both of them encouraged violence, as Trump has done many times. President Trump used the slogan, America First. Do you know how to say that in German? Deutschland über alles is German for Germany first. And America First, which was Trump's slogan, was used by neo-Nazis in the United States, a slogan that he borrowed from them. And he also emulated Andrew Jackson, who led people on a death march of genocide, Native Americans, and tried to usurp authority even over the Supreme Court. My friends, we ignore history at its peril. Now, some people are going to condemn me for making this comparison and for even bringing this up on a Shabbat. My friends, it is much worse to be condemned by history than to be condemned by an individual. This generation will be condemned by history if we do not stand up against tyrants, if we do not stand up to protect our planet from climate change, if we do not denounce climate deniers, science deniers, truth deniers. What Kristallnacht teaches us is that we must stand up against fascism and against people who tell lies all the time. And so, my friends, we learned from the Torah reading tonight about Isaac, someone who was mindful, someone who used rational thought and kindness in order to remember where those wells were, to remember his father's ways, and to lead his people to prosperity. I hope that as we recall this day, we also will remember Veterans Day. Veterans Day reminds us that if we fail to stand up against dictators and militarist tyrants in time, and we allow them to grow in strength, the results will be catastrophic, and we will lose many of our precious young people, and we will have to mourn the death of many veterans. On this day, we give thanks to veterans. We give thanks to Jewish martyrs, and we give thanks to all those people who came before us, who allowed us to live in freedom. I hope, my friends, that we will always be guided as a nation, as a religion, and as individuals by mindfulness rather than mindlessness. Many people want religion and government to be mindless. We need to make it mindful. And when we use our rational mind to guide us as a nation, as a religion, and as a people, there is no stopping us. So let us never have amnesia about the past. Let us always remember those who have sacrificed for us. Let us remember the virtues and the values of our people. And in that way, we can do what Isaac was commissioned to do. We can be a blessing to humanity, helping to bring about an era of reason, of kindness, of shalom, of peace. Shabbat Shalom.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כיי ארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
And now, with the theme of mindfulness for this Shabbat, we enter into the period where we recite and reflect on the Kaddish. We are mindful of the sacrifice of veterans made in this country and elsewhere in order to protect and preserve us and our freedoms. We also reflect on this Shabbat, on Kristallnacht, and the martyrdom that our people suffered so often in order to preserve our precious heritage. Is there any way that we could possibly repay those veterans who willingly sacrificed and gave their lives for us? As John F. Kennedy said, the best way that we can honor our fallen soldiers, our martyrs, our heroes, the best way is not by words, but by deeds. Let us do all we can to protect this great nation, to serve our nation in any way we can, and also to be worthy of the sacrifice they made and the sacrifice made by Jewish martyrs throughout history. We can best do that by preserving and strengthening and promoting their dream and their vision of a better world. Now we recite the Kaddish. Yiskadav yiskadash shemer haba, v'yomad yivrach rusei v'yamnich malchusei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayeh d'chol beis Yisrael, v'agalav izman kariv imru amen. Yehi shemer haba mivorach la'olam omei omaya, yisborach v'yistabach v'yisporar v'yisromam v'yisnaseh, v'yishadar v'yisalav v'yisarel, shemer kodashah berechu. Le'elam inkor b'yochasa v'shirasa, tishbechasa v'nechamasa, da'amiran b'yoma v'imru amen. Yehi shlam araba min shmaya v'chayim aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the source of peace and comfort bring peace and comfort to all who mourn. And let us say, amen.
Good evening. Shabbat Shalom from all of us at L'Dor Va-Dor. I'm Sharon Leibovitz. We hope you're enjoying Shabbat with us. We offer a rational view of Judaism, and we celebrate a mindful religion. This Shabbat centers on this and being thankful for the daily miracles we have and see all around us. We invite you to join with L'Dor Va-Dor and support what we offer and provide. Help us to build the Judaism of tomorrow, today, together with L'Dor Va-Dor. We have a very unique opportunity this Tuesday evening, November 9th, for our Torah study with two rabbis, Rabbi Barry Silver and our guest, Rabbi Moshe Kievman of the Chabad Chayil of North Miami Beach. Join us on Zoom at 7 p.m. Take a deeper look at the Torah from these two different points of view. We welcome one and all to join in for our celebration of Shabbat and veterans next Friday, November 12th at 5 p.m. outdoors at the West Boynton Park, Oak Pavilion. Rabbi Barry and cantorial soloist Carol Garrett will create a beautiful Shabbat experience for us all. This will be a musical and inspiring time. This service will not be live streamed, unfortunately, and we will not hold our Zoom and Schmooze later that evening. But join with us safely outdoors. Bring your chairs if you wish and dress casually. We'll have a fun Shabbat together on Friday, November 12th. Something quite special is also being planned for Saturday evening, November 20th at 7 p.m. on Zoom. Andrew Susman, educator and cantorial soloist, will recreate our highly successful Shabbat, Shira, and Havdalah service. You can participate from home, enjoying some of the special words and songs of Shabbat, and bidding Shabbat farewell for another week with the Havdalah separation service. You won't want to miss this, so we hope to see you Saturday, November 20th at 7 p.m. on Zoom. Please join in later tonight for our Zoom and Schmooze time online, tonight at 8 p.m. when we get together, sharing, caring, hearing some beautiful music, and some great discussion. We hold these each Friday evening that we don't hold an in-person live service. So we welcome you to be there at 8 p.m. later this evening. L'Dor Va-Dor has so much to offer. Learn more about us from our website, l'dorvador.org, our Facebook page, our YouTube channel, and our email newsletters. Stay in the know with L'Dor Va-Dor and become a part of our wonderful L'Dor Va-Dor mishpacha. Wishes for an amazing November. Happy birthday and happy anniversary to those celebrating this month. We wish you all Shabbat Shalom with love, good health, and peace from all of us at L'Dor Va-Dor to you.
Earlier in this Shabbat celebration, I mentioned the incredible gift, the blessing, and the miracle of breathing. Something that happens within our bodies that takes place through a series of miracles, all coordinated just the right way, without our even thinking about it, 20,000 times a day. Today, on this Shabbat, we give thanks for that miracle that happens every day as we celebrate our birthdays and our anniversaries, which reflect upon, which are mindful of the fact that we have lived for years and years and years because of all these miracles that are going on around us every day. Let us give thanks for another year of life. Let us rejoice in another year of marriage. And let us take full advantage of all of these blessings by doing the best we can every single day to rejoice, to love others, to give thanks, and to make the most of this blessed life that we have as we now offer this final benediction for all those who are celebrating and for all of us who celebrate another week of life. May you be blessed and protected through life. May the light of love and of reason shine upon you and shine from you always. May you be lifted up by the power of love, in order to make this year, this day, this week, the best ever. Shabbat Shalom. And I want to thank everyone for joining us here at L'Dor Va-Dor, where we promote rational Judaism. The world desperately needs mindful, not mindless, religion, because mindful religion can bring all of us together and build bridges of understanding. Mindless religion will cause walls of separation and violence. We celebrate mindful religion. We rejoice that you have celebrated with us. Contact us, please, if you'd like, to share with us what your ideas and suggestions are for improving our ability to reach out to others. And feel free to join with us in all of our activities, our discussions, our Shabbat celebrations. We would love to hear from you. Rabbi Barry Silver, signing off on behalf of L'Dor Va-Dor. Have a great week. Shavua Tov.
Shemin tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, shemin tov, shemin tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, shemin tov, shemin tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, shemin tov. Yehelanu, 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 ulecho Yisrael. Yehelanu, yehelanu, ulecho Yisrael.
Adon Olam Hashem Olach B'Terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Li'es Nasal B'Chefzo Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Shemo Nikra V'Yacharei Kichlos HaKol Levado Yimloch Nora V'Hu Aya V'Hu Hoveh V'Hu Yiyeh B'Sifara V'hu yeh b'sifara בספרו. אדון עולם, אדון עולם, אדון עולם, אדון עולם, אדון עולם. והוא אחד ואין שני להמשיל לו להכבירה בלי רשס בלי סחלס ולא העוז והמשרה ולא העוז והמשרה והוא אלי וחי גואלי וצור חבלי ביסרה והוא ניסי ומנוס לי מנס כוסי ביום אקרא Nas kosi biyom ekra, biyom ekra. Oh, Adon Olam, oh, Adon Olam, oh, Adon Olam, oh, Adon Olam. Yado akir ruchi v'yesi shan v'yayira v'yesi shan v'yayira V'yim ruchi gevi asi Hashem li v'lo ira Hashem li v'lo ira Lo ira Adon Olam Hashem olach b'terem kol yitzir nivra li yes nasal b'chefzo kol azay melech shemo nikra Azay melech shemo nikra Azay melech shemo nikra Azay melech shemo nikra Shemo nikra